Well, draft night, not just about guys making their debuts in the NBA a year from now. It's also about blockbuster trades, and we have one with Russell Westbrook going to the Lakers. This is a bit of a surprise because I just didn't understand if there was going to be a chemistry there with LeBron James and Russell Westbrook. But clearly LeBron signed off on this. And I think ultimately he knows at this stage of his career, every year he doesn't win a title is going to be a lost season. And when you look up at the Brooklyn Nets, eventually healthy with Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving, you are going to need additional firepower outside of just your teammate Anthony Davis. That's why you make this move. Also, the nature of the position, Russell Westbrook being able to play point dynamically, it gives LeBron James more opportunities to rest in the regular season and even in the postseason by putting the ball in the hands of a guy that can put this much pressure on defenses. Really a surprising move, I think, for me. But ultimately, I understand what the Lakers are trying to do, and that's match what the Brooklyn Nets have to offer.
To Russell Westbrook possibly joining the Lakers and LeBron, AD, and crew.
Well, first of all, if he ends up with the Lakers, obviously, even though they were in the championship picture last year before AD and LeBron periodically went down, definitely Russell Westbrook elevates your chances. There's no denying that. He averaged about 22 a game, which was down by about 5 points from his previous year, but he shot better from three-point range. First time he shot better than 30% from three-point range over the last 4 years. He's 32 going on 33 in November. He's an electrifying athlete. We all know that, an incredible finisher at the basket, an incredible player in the open court. The question about Russell Westbrook is going to be very, very simple, and that's going to pertain to his shot from the perimeter. Can he be a better three-point threat? Because usually that's what things come down to in the Western Conference postseason play. That's the question about him, but that appears to be the only question. He's a significant upgrade, not just from, Schroeder or anybody else, but all the guys mentioned in the trade, the Kuzmas, Harrells of the world, Kentavious Caldwell-Popes. None of them even combined are Russell Westbrook, particularly when he gets going. And the notion of him being with LeBron and being with Anthony Davis is something that's incredibly, incredibly formidable, particularly when you consider the fact that it's Laker tradition, the Staples Center, that's his home, et cetera, et cetera. It would be an electrifying situation, no doubt.
How would you answer that question? Can Russ be that threat, that three-point threat?
Oh, hell no. That's my only reservation about him. He defends. He goes all out. He never cheats you with effort. He's a superstar talent. He is the most athletic point guard in the history of the National Basketball Association. Make no mistake about that. But when defenses come playoff time, defenses, when they get back on defense and they don't give you but so many opportunities in the open court and they turn you into a half-court team and you struggle to hit three-point shots, that can be detrimental. Now, LeBron James, he could create shots for LeBron James. He certainly could create shots for Anthony Davis along with various other teammates that he'd have available, and maybe they'd hit those shots. But if you're asking him to be that shot maker, well, there's a reason that he's lost to the likes of Steph Curry, Donovan Mitchell, and, of course, Damian Lillard in the postseason. It's primarily due to the fact that those dudes are marksmen, especially Steph Curry and Damian Lillard. And Russell Westbrook, that's the one thing you can't say about him. Everything else is there. There's a question mark in terms of his long-range perimeter shooting.
I know LeBron didn't go to the Lakers to just get one title. If this goes through with this lineup, this current roster, what's the Lakers' window to get another chip before it's all done?
I think 2 years. I think they'd have 2 seasons. Russell Westbrook will be 33 next season, 34 the season after that. But let's be very, very clear. He is a superstar. He's a superstar talent, make no mistake about it. Anthony Davis, when healthy, is a superstar, one of the top 5 players on the planet, but his durability is a question mark. And we all know that LeBron James is one of the top 2 players on the planet. I don't care what Giannis or anybody else is doing. We know how great that is. And so this would definitely be a trio to be reckoned with. But still, Brooklyn would have something to say about it. To a lesser degree, Milwaukee would have something to say about it. If the Clippers stayed together and everybody was healthy, they'd have something to say about it. So there would be teams in both conferences that would try to be roadblocks, and they'd have a legitimate chance. But there is no question if this deal goes through, it would be a significant upgrade for the Los Angeles Lakers, and they would clearly be one of the favorites, if not the favorite, to win it all, because you had some people having them as the favorite last year when it was just LeBron and Anthony Davis. Imagine if Russell Westbrook was in that lineup. That's how big this deal is. There's no doubt about that.
Stephen A. Smith breaking down. Brother, appreciate you.
All right.
Nearing a deal with the Wizards to acquire Russell Westbrook for Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and a 2021 first-round pick. Sources tell our Adrian Wojnarowski what a power shift of Russell Westbrook potentially joining LeBron James out in L.A. As we now bring in Woj. She's joining us now from Brooklyn as we prepare for tonight's draft. Woj, what else can you tell us about this Laker deal for Westbrook?
Well, this has been a conversation, I'm told, that has gone back and forth for a period of time now, and that the two sides now feel like they are nearing a possible deal that would deliver Russell Westbrook to the Lakers. Now, the Lakers had continued and had been talking also simultaneously about a deal that would have brought them Buddy Hield from Sacramento for some of the parts that are in this proposed Wizards trade. Kyle Kuzma and Montrezl Harrell. Montrezl Harrell opted into his contract for next season earlier today, I was told, and that allows him to be included in these trades. I think Sacramento would still like to be aggressive in trying to get that deal complete. But I think for Washington, the chance to get some salary cap flexibility moving forward with Bradley Beal, bring back KCP, Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, some solid veteran players, another first-round pick in this year's draft, and then see if they can try to re-sign Bradley Beal and then be able to go out in the marketplace and try to get a big free agent in the future. But right now, Washington and L.A. are trying to complete this deal.
Unbelievable. Russell Westbrook was already the first MVP to be traded in consecutive seasons. So he's just adding now 3 straight seasons of an MVP being traded. Really unbelievable there. What other teams are engaged in trade talks among the top of the draft? Well,
certainly Philadelphia continues to try to find a new home for Ben Simmons. They're asking for a lot. Their asking price is steep. Simmons has 4 years left on his deal. They don't have to do a deal here at the draft. They're certainly prepared to take this into free agency.
And look, free agency starts in a week. DeRozan spoke to Shannon Sharp on the Club Shay Shay podcast about what his priorities are. Here is what he said.
At this point, you gotta weigh out the opportunity of winning a championship kind of more. You know, especially with the career I had, I've been fortunate to make a lot of money. Yeah. You know what I mean? But at this point, your ultimate goal is always to compete for a championship.
First of all, shouts to the Club Shay Shay set designer, because that's a very nice setup there. But Bobby, more importantly, what are your expectations for DeMar DeRozan in free agency?
Yeah, it's funny, Rachel. He is the one player that's kind of flown under the radar as far as we've heard, certainly Chris Paul's name and Kawhi Leonard. But DeMar DeRozan has flown under the radar. And I think there's two schools of thoughts as far as with him. It's the teams that have cap space that are playoff teams. So now you're looking at a team like New York, potentially Miami. But if you go to New York, is that a win now situation with RJ Barrett and Julius Randle? And can you maybe get another player to come with you? And I think the most logical situation is going to be trying to work out some type of sign and trade. The last 2 years, there's been 16 players sign and trade. I would circle the Lakers as a possible destination just because it fits. It fits as far as DeRozan wanting to go back home and playing for a championship level team. I think it fits because if you're San Antonio, can you recoup maybe a Kyle Kuzma back as far as instead of losing DeRozan for nothing? And it's just a matter of if you're the Lakers, as far as we've always talked about that hard cap, right? They'd be hard capped at $143 million. And then you got to kind of put your other free agents kind of in a pecking order here. But the Lakers, for me, is probably the most logical destination for DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah, add the Clippers to that, which is kind of interesting. I talked to someone close to DeMar today, and they said, look, San Antonio is still on the board, so don't count the Spurs out. But there's a lot of teams showing interest in DeMar. Lakers, Clippers, Knicks, Chicago. LA is certainly attractive. I went with him to his basketball camp in Compton. He does a lot back home. His father, God rest his soul, passed earlier this year, and his mom is still in Los Angeles. So going back to LA certainly is attractive for family reasons. to get back home, to be close to his family, and perhaps even do more in the community than he already has. But, so it ain't just the Lakers. The Clippers have some interest too.
Well, that is interesting. Remember, not so much this past season, but especially in the 2019-2020 season, we